I have some great information for you in this video, so be sure to stick around till the end. And the other day I was talking to a chaplain, and just out of curiosity, I asked his thoughts on Joel Osteen. What do you think of him? And I kind of confessed that I used to like Joel Osteen because he gives such good messages, but I found out some things about him, and I don't really like him very much anymore. And this chaplain, even though he's not real big on Joel Osteen, he said, I can't judge anyone else's ministry, but I have a friend that knows him a little bit, and Osteen is way different than he is on TV in real life. And I said to him, yeah, I used to like Joel Osteen, but then I found out some things about him, and I don't really like him that much anymore. And he said to me, well, if you found out some things about me, you might not like me so much anymore. And I said to him, yeah, me too. And that is going to get into what we're going to talk about here. Now, I have to start working nighttime, so I have a few days to get adjusted. So starting last night and over the next couple days, I'm staying up late. And what's really good about this is I have the house to myself, which means I can watch some other types of movies that wouldn't appeal to the rest of the family. For example, sometimes I like to watch obscure martial arts movies. Now, if I tried to do that around my wife, that would probably be like torture for her. So I can watch these things that would normally maybe kind of upset the rest of the family because they don't enjoy it the way I might. But recently I got this book out of the library that's a biography of John Travolta. And it's a pretty good book, but it kind of got me interested in some of his films that he's made over the years, which I have not seen. One of these movies is Primary Colors. Now, this was a very big, highly talked about, highly anticipated movie when it was coming out because it was based off of a best-selling book. And I think the Clintons were in office then, and it was very much based on them. And John Travolta even went on Oprah talking about promoting it. It had a lot of heavy promotion for this movie. But over the years, you don't really see it played on TV too much anymore. You don't really hear people talk about it other than it seems that people were disappointed. People didn't really like the movie. Now, John Travolta, he's made some very good movies. He's made a lot of mediocre movies. Probably the majority of his movies have been fairly mediocre, which is fine because he's just the actor in them, and he probably does a good job, but he doesn't write the movie, he doesn't direct it, whatever. So most of them probably been mediocre, and he's made some pretty bad movies. Now, Primary Colors, I would say, is probably one of his worst movies. In fact, when I was watching it, I was thinking this is maybe one of the worst movies ever made. That's how bad it is. And it was a struggle for me just to get through it. There were so many times where I almost turned it off because it was extremely boring. And something about the movie that you wouldn't realize until you see it is John Travolta, he's playing a character based off of Bill Clinton. Everyone knows that. But what you wouldn't know is he's not really the main guy in the movie. There's another character, an African-American character, and the movie is told through his perspective. He's actually more the main character of this movie than the Bill and Hillary characters, which in the advertising, you think that, especially John Travolta, big star, you think he's the main guy, but it's more this African-American character who I don't even know who the actor is. And I don't think they really showed him much in the advertising, but he's more the main character. But the movie overall, it was boring. And since it's about the Clintons, it gets it pretty sleazy. And I think it probably accurately portrays them quite a bit, which is kind of a good thing, but you still have to sit through something really sleazy. But watching the movie until the end, which was a huge struggle, there was one part that I kind of liked the end because it kind of had a good message to it. Now, in the movie, towards the end, John Travolta, his character is running for the nomination for president, and he's in the primaries against one other guy for the Democratic nomination. And this other guy, everyone says is a great guy, and he's not running a dirty campaign. He seems like an all-around great guy, and everyone, they can only say good things about him. So Travolta's character and the Hillary character, they go to their person that takes care of these things, and they say, is there any dirt in this guy's past? And she's like, no, this guy seems to be clean as a whistle. He seems to just be an awesome guy. However, there is one thing that he seems that in the 70s, he may have done some sort of shady business deal. So they send this character played by Kathy Bates down to Florida to investigate on it. And they tell, her and the black character, they tell these people that they're talking to that they're from the campaign of this guy, that they're investigating his background because they're from his campaign and they want to know about everything. So the people that they're talking to, they think they're from the opposite campaign, but they're from the enemy's campaign. So they go down to Florida and they're talking to the brother-in-law, and he said, yeah, back in the 70s, I thought this guy being my brother-in-law would get my construction business, these great deals. But this guy, he's so honest. He's clean as a whistle. Like he just wouldn't benefit me. And he said, like, he's just an all-around great guy. And he said at some point in the conversation, it slips out that, yeah, but he was stoned heavily through the 70s. He had a serious cocaine problem in the 70s. And they're like, what? And they're like, the guy says, the only other guy that really knows about this, he's been in prison for the past couple decades, but actually he just got out and he's staying in this halfway house. So they go to talk to this other guy that got out of prison that was the cocaine dealer, the cocaine supplier to this politician. And they come in and he says, yeah, this guy's a great guy. He says, this guy's a great guy. Don't worry, I'm going to keep it a secret. I'll never talk about any of this. But he's a gay guy that's sick with AIDS, clearly. And he says, this, as far as me being sick, I got this in prison, not when I was with that politician. And they're like, what? There's all these secrets coming out. So not only did this guy have a cocaine problem, but he hooked up with the man that was supplying him with cocaine. So Kathy Bates and the black character, they're disgusted by what they heard, but they said, this guy really is a good guy that we investigated, and we have to hand over this dirt over to the Clinton characters. And they feel really guilty, so Kathy Bates comes in, she gives it to the Bill and Hillary character, and they're just, oh yes, how can we use this? How can we get this out to the media to destroy this guy's chances? And Kathy Bates says, you know, when I met you in the 70s, you were very idealistic, saying that we're going to take the high road and all that. And there's like, you said it ourselves, we were young and naive, so we're going to use this. Well, the Kathy Bates character commits suicide. And because of that, the Bill Clinton character, he feels guilty. And he decides he's not going to publicly release this dirt. So he goes to the guy's house, his competitor's house that he's trying to get the nomination from. And he tells them, look, we did some digging. We found this out about your past. But don't worry, we're not going to tell anyone about it. We'll keep it secret. And the other guy's concerned, well, if you guys could find this, I'm sure the Republicans could find this. And this is all going to come out. And the guy says, you know what? I'm dating a really great woman. I'm going to have to confess all this to her. And he says, I'm not even gay, but when I got on cocaine, I became another person and I thought totally differently. And it was the drugs I was on. He said, I did everything great in life, in business, in politics. But when I got on cocaine, that was it. I did this other stuff that I'm really ashamed of. And he said, the worst part about this is I'm going to have to tell my sons about this. I love my sons so much. They're my world. But I'm going to have to tell them about this. And they're going to have to know this about their father. And as a father myself, that really hit me. So that's kind of the end of the movie. It kind of ends on the Clinton character doing a good thing. It's kind of funny how someone close to them commits suicide, and that was portrayed in the movie, because certainly a lot of people that have been close to the Clintons end up dying of suicide. But that was the kind of the one message part that I liked of it that I thought is really good. Now, what am I saying to you? What's the point of all this? Well, if you're a young guy, and if you're an old guy, it's probably too late, but you'll probably agree with me. If you're a young guy, just don't make mistakes. But young people are very prone to making mistakes. Yes, that's the catch-22. But unfortunately, I'm just going to have to tell you, do not make mistakes when you're young. Especially these days, it's so much worse than when the older generations grew up, because there's cameras everywhere now. Everything is documented. Look, I got to be honest with you. All secrets are going to come out. Everyone's gonna know everything about you, everything you've done, especially you younger guys coming up. So unfortunately, you're just gonna have to do your darndest not to make mistakes. You gotta think better before actually doing things. You can't get away with a lot of things that people used to get away with in the past. And here's kind of the dirty part of all this. The culture, which is propagated by the media, Hollywood, that kind of thing, they try and brainwash us, like me as a kid growing up in the 90s. They try and get you believing a certain way, believing that doing certain things is okay. And these things can come back to haunt you, much like it did this character in the movie Primary Colors. And once you do certain things, it's going to cut off a lot of other possibilities in your life. You're going to automatically be disqualified. For example, if you have a felony arrest. If you have a felony arrest, even just one, most careers are not going to be an option for you. You're not going to be able to be a teacher, a doctor, get a job in law enforcement. Certainly not that. So you're just going to cut yourself off from a lot of careers. Now you can get jobs, but it's going to be very difficult getting an actual career that you might really want to do. But the media, they want you to get into believing a certain thing. Hollywood wants you to think that behaving a certain way and doing certain actions are okay. But once you go down that path, if you decide, hey, you want to be more conservative in the future, well, hey, you're a hypocrite now because you've done these things. So this character in the movie Primary Colors, this guy probably would have been president of the United States. But because of his behavior decades previously, when he wasn't quite thinking right, not only is he not going to be president now, but his sons that mean the world to him, he's going to have to tell them about something really ugly that that their father did, and he's just going to have to live with that guilt and shame, knowing that the loves of his life, his children, know that about him. So I can tell you from my own experience, some of my goals, some of my dreams didn't come true because of poor decisions that I made or whatever. So even if smaller things, you can get distracted so easily, you can get sidetracked, you can get pulled away from focusing whatever it is on your life that you want. So it doesn't have to be major. You don't have to commit crimes. You don't have to get into drugs. But just even other distractions, other little things that pull you away from your focus that are really going to determine your future. It's so easy to get dragged into that. So unfortunately, I have to bring you a little bit of bad news in this, that, hey, when you're a young person, just don't make mistakes. You're going to have to try to live a little bit more consciously. You're going to have to think things through a little bit better before you do them. And for those people that are not seeing this video, well, they'll be the ones held back. So hopefully this video has been a blessing to you and given you something to keep in mind and remind you of something that you already should know. So until next time, my friends, thank you.